Hi. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate how I create custom maps for my Garmin 62 ST. This technique should also work for the Colorado, Dakota, and Oregon. I use Google Earth, as Google Earth's KMZ file type is what Garmin's custom maps are based on. It also has the benefit of being free. One note about GPS receivers by other companies. While everything I'm going to show is done using Google Earth, I do not know whether a KMZ file exported from Google Earth will work with any other manufacturer's GPS receiver other than the ones that I mentioned. I only have the 62ST and can vouch that the following does work for it. Your mileage may vary. In a nutshell, a custom map is a zip file with a KMZ extension that contains one or more images, as well as a text file that contains the coordinates of the image. Okay, the first thing we need is a map. How you get the map is up to you. Trail maps are typically available for download from the park's website. For this demonstration, I'll be using a map of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair that I found on the internet somewhere. The file requirements for a custom map is that the image be a JPEG with a JPG extension. There should be no spaces, dashes, or funky characters in the file name. Depending on where you got your map, you may have to convert it to a JPEG. You can do this using any image editing program, including Photoshop, PaintShop Pro, as well as the Paint program that comes with Windows or Preview on the Macintosh. I'll be demonstrating this on a Mac, but there's nothing Mac specific in any of these instructions. Google Earth works exactly the same on Windows. Now I've got Google Earth running, and I've got the approximate area of where we want the custom map to go. As an aside, I recommend turning off all unnecessary data layers when creating a custom map, like the weather, traffic, etc. Looking at the image, you can see that the top boundary is 56th Street, the west side is Cottage Grove, and the south side is 67th Street. To begin creating the custom map, press the double 3D rectangle button labeled Add Image Overlay. What you'll see is a green bounding box. I know it's kind of hard to see on the screen here. That is where the image will go. There's also a dialog box on the left. I'm going to start by giving the map a display name. This is the name that's going to show up in Google Earth. Click the Browse button and select the image that you're going to use for the custom map. You'll see that the image now appears inside the green box in Google Earth. Now that the image is loaded, the fun begins. Actually, I guess it all depends on your definition of fun, because what needs to be done now is to position the image in the right spot so that its features match what you see in Google Earth. This is what takes all the time. Depending on the map, how it was created, all kinds of factors that are subjective and will vary from map to map will determine how exactly you can position it. Regardless of the map you're making, the key thing will be to identify those features that do not readily change, like roads, major waterways, etc. In this case, we'll use the streets we identified, the railroad tracks on the left side there, and the Museum of Science and Industry, identified as the art museum in the map, along with the pond and the island south of it. Positioning the map typically involves both moving as well as resizing it. You resize the map by moving the mouse cursor over the green lines on the edges, as I'm showing here. You move the map by clicking and dragging on the green cross in the middle, as I'm doing now. To move around inside Google Earth without repositioning the image, click anywhere except any of the green lines and drag. You see you can do it even inside the image. If the image needs to be turned or rotated to align it better, that's done by clicking and dragging on the green diamond handle as I'm showing here. To align it properly, you need to be able to see underneath the image, so that's what's done with the slider, as you can see here. Using all of the tools that I mentioned, you can now begin aligning the image. This will likely take some time and involve a lot of pulling and pushing, repositioning again and again until the image lines up as good as it's going to get. Here I'm trying to adjust the shoreline of the island and the North Pond below the Museum of Science Industry so that it lines up as best as it can to the underlying satellite imagery. Here I'm trying to line up the image based on the streets, keeping the Cottage Grove on the left and the angled railroad tracks on the right. So a little more tweaking, a little more pulling and pushing, and the streets line up pretty much correctly between the image and the underlying satellite picture. This part of the map shows some of the compromises that you sometimes have to make depending on what you're doing. The Museum of Science Industry doesn't line up exactly, neither does the North Pond. It's one of the problems with the fact that the map was hand-drawn, and it lines up pretty close, but it's not going to be exact in this case. Now we've got the image placed as good as we're probably going to get it. You can see that we're lined up with the streets, the Museum of Science Industry, and the water behind it. We're done positioning, so it's time to save it as a custom map. This is done by right-clicking on the map and choosing Save Place As. I'm going to save it in a Maps folder on my computer in case I need to recopy it to my GPS. The file name you use is what will show up in your GPS under Custom Maps. Here I am saving it as the Chicago 1893 World's Fair. Now I'm going to copy the map to the GPS. I have a micro SD card in my 62ST, and I'm going to copy the map there. It doesn't matter whether the map is on the card or in internal storage, it just needs to be in a folder called Custom Maps. Just copy and drag the KMZ file to the Custom Maps directory and you're done.
Hi, okay, so here we are behind the Museum of Science Industry. We're standing at the edge of the bridge that was used in the Blues Brothers, and according to the map, used to link the U.S. government building with fisheries. So you can see the map that, sorry, I'm trying to get it without any glare, that if I zoom out, the whole map is shown, and it's underneath the detail that would show up normally. So for example, the blue track shows up and the Highway 41 Lakeshore Drive is showing up. If I zoom in, you can see that it gets a little pixelated. That's, again, depending on the quality of the map source that you're using. So hopefully this was useful.